Welcome to Today in EVE Online. This is Matterall. It's November 21st, 2019. Well, today we'll do a little review of the Sunday show. We'll talk about some of the stuff that is on the forums, on TweetFleet, and that we've seen here at Talking Station's Discord. We'll also have a look at Dotland and see what some of the information is there for some new alliances. And we'll talk some economics with my friend Lichgrave. How you doing, Lichgrave?
I'm doing pretty good, Matterall. It is. Just sitting here having fun.
Awesome. All right. We also have Z-Master and Nova Valentis. How are you guys doing? Well, first, Nova, how are you?
Well, I still don't feel like a white supremacist. I don't know.
We'll talk about your white supremacist adventures in a second.
Dude, I had to do a voice message to my little brother because he lives in the Philippines and he has very dark skin. And, he's gay. And I'm like, dude, if you read this on Reddit, I'm not a white supremacist yet.
Well, okay. So that is funny. We're going to get into that. We also have Z-Master with us. How's it going, Z-Master?
Hey everybody, I'm good. I'm currently enjoying the plex market going on.
How is it doing?
For me, it's doing good. For you, I don't know. I'm enjoying the prices.
Well,
Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff.
I'm just worried about the average Joes most of the time because those are the people that are just leaving the game the most.
Exactly. If I actually in this day and age,
How do we know they're leaving the game, by the way?
Oh, they tell me.
In this day and age, I'm not worried about new players anymore because CCP has done a very good job at adding very lucrative gameplay mechanics to ISAC. I'm just going to mention invasions and emerging conduits, which can be soloed. And that's very, very lucrative gameplay mechanics.
All right, we'll get into that in just a second when we get into money making. I want to go through some headlines real quick, and then we'll get to the money making stuff a little bit later. It looks like it's going to be an hour show.
Are you guys live on air?
Yeah, we're live on air.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Did I not tell you that? This channel is usually live on air, but hang around.
You want me to get out of there?
No, I want you to stay. I want to talk about your white supremacist adventure, we'll call it, because it's kind of a funny story. All right, but first let's go to talk about what happened on the last Talking in Stations. Actually, not the last one, but Sunday's show, and it was called War of the Dead, the episode. And that episode had Killa B in it with Sphinx, I think, from Horde. And they talked about what's going on in the north and how GOTG is, Dead Coalition now. That's why it's War of the Dead. As you can see here, the show notes. They went through the G-Star report and went through some news. They talked about invading the territories in the north, which is up there, Dead Coalition. And then they talked about a little bit of the lower north, which is the nation states of Veil and Silent and Tribute. Veil of the Silent and Tribute, those two regions that host these little alliances that are not actually grouping up into a coalition. They're staying independent. So check that out. That is War of the Dead on talkinginstations.com or whatever podcast software you use. You can also catch it on YouTube for the actual show. That was Sunday. Worth your listen. Actually, on Wednesday, we had a show. We'll cover it tomorrow. And that one is not out yet. It will be out. It's always 24 hours after recording for Twitch reasons, which we're frustrated with. But once that comes out, that will be Sort Dragon and Pando from the initiative talking about the same war from the other perspective. So check that out. We'll talk about it tomorrow if you listen to it before then. Also going through Going through the forums, I found this presidential elections YC122, and that YC is actually EVE time. It's RP time, role-playing time. So where we might be in 2019, this game is actually at 122. I forget what that marker is for, YC. I should know that. Anyone know? Wait.
You like convention?
You like convention sounds right. Let's go with it. If we're wrong, we'll correct it later. But
Yeah.
the game basically starts. The narrative of the game starts at a certain point. I think it's 13, or I don't know, forget. So this is now 2019 is equivalent to YC122. So this is definitely a role-playing entry here, and it's talking about presidential elections, and it says the field and the forum, which I think means how they're going to elect and who's going to be participating. And as I was reading, you can see that there are different player characters in character who are running for an office. I'm not sure. I guess they want to be. They want to be president. They want to be the governor, I guess, of Libertopolis, which I guess is liberty or whatever. But it's a Galente thing.
We need Hashtarati to explain this to us.
Yeah, we need somebody that's read all this and understands it. But it's kind of neat. Players running for office inside the game. I love politics as much as PvP and exploration and all that other stuff. So that's pretty cool that players are doing that. Also, I wanted to point out in this, if you go to latest on EVE Online forums, you'll see private sale. I want to talk about a private sale for a minute. Anytime that you change a character from one player to another, you have to have a public announcement. It's kind of like putting your name in the newspaper that you're doing business as. That's a requirement for when you actually, in America, that's a requirement for when you actually open a business. And this is the same concept. It's a publication of record that timestamps a transition. In this case, one character from one player to another character. Therefore, they can point to this and say, I announced it publicly. I have no more responsibility over what that character does. And that's what happens with a private sale. It means this was sold in the game to somebody else, but they have to come here and mark it down as part of the record. This is always going to be in the Character Bazaar part of the marketplace section of the forums. That's the official record. And funny enough, the Character Bazaar, if you look into it, is people selling characters. So a lot of characters will be sold here from one player to another. And when they're sold, it's all part of the public record. But if you do it inside of the game, you're still obligated to come here and make sure that it's listed. You just don't have to list it for sale. You just say, here's a record of a private sale. And that's what that is. Okay, next thing is, I was looking at a place a lot of people go to goof around and to get news is Reddit, r-eve. And there was not much to look at here. You get a lot of the same stuff here, unfortunately. People saying like, wow, I just joined this game and this is really awesome. And you guys are awesome. And you never know if it's a real player or somebody who's just kind of, wanting to engage the audience. You also get people saying, CCP, please fix this, fix that, that kind of stuff. And then occasionally you get some news bits about like this battle here. 124. This is actually on TIS Discord as well. It was, I think it was a faction war, or the Malente militia got into a fight with Penn, and that racked up. It was a dread bomb fight, which is not. It's a dread fight, dreadnoughts. So it's a little bit bigger than usual, and got up to about 125 billion in damages. It looks like people had some fun there, but. We also saw this, and I thought this was kind of interesting. It said free GigX, and it's basically somebody saying free GigX or get somebody like him just saying. And that is interesting because I think CCP agrees with you. They'll never admit it out loud, and they don't want to be misquoted saying they want him back. But CCP Larrikin, inside of one of the roundtables, I guess it is, was saying, what can I say? We actually need, and don't misquote me on this, we need a GigX back. And he was saying we need those type of players that aren't interested in just keeping their players from doing stuff. They need leaders that want to go and fight even against odds. They need players that want to shake things up, to be unpredictable and I guess not pragmatic and not so disciplined. They need people to basically wreck stuff and get wrecked in the process. And that's what Larkin was saying in Las Vegas. So, not saying that CCP wants GigX back. He's a problematic player for them, and he had been for a long time. And when he publicly went over a certain ethical line, he was thrown out of the game in every form. And so that's his fate, and maybe he can come back from that. Oh, I don't know. But CCP isn't calling for him to come back. They just need more players to act like him. So he really brought something to the game because he was really in just about every major conflict in EVE since 2005 or who knows. His group CO2, Circle of Two, in some way played a role in many, many conflicts. And CCP really needs that. The game really needs that. So that's what that's about.
The game needs conflict, not these blue donuts that are forming,
Right.
Because if we don't have any reason to blow each other up, if we don't have any reason to blow materials which were turned into citadels or ships and so on and so forth, the economy will become stagnant. And then you'll have things like Delve happening. You go to Delve, you can buy a capital for like 40% cheaper than the rest of Eve.
I thought you were in Imperium.
Me? No, I'm Z Master. I'm independent. I'm independent. Yes,
I love the way you said that. I'm Z Master.
Yeah.
I could just totally see you like ripping your shirt open and there's a big Z, underneath it.
Well, almost.
Okay, something like that.
No. I'm independent NPSI at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so that's the bring GigX back. We need destruction. Destruction makes things atrophy, so that you can, not atrophy, but they actually makes them disappear, get destroyed. That means you can build more, and so that's good for markets, and it's also good for builders. Killing spree ends right about now. I think that incentive ended today.
Yes, on downtime. Downtime.
At downtime. So that's over. That'll be back. They're playing a lot with incentives these days. And the last thing I want to do is look at, before we get into economics, let's look at Dotland, see what's going on there. Really like this. Yesterday I commented this La Veracruz Alliance looked like it was Spanish, which is kind of cool. They have, we'll say it again for people who weren't here yesterday. It was, what's that corporation's name that I like? It's called La Vaca que Ríe, and that's the cow that laughs.
Yeah, the laughing cow.
Cow.
Like the laughing cow cheese,
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was
It's
pretty original.
La Vacherie, the laughing cow, whatever.
You're Portuguese, right? Is that where you...
I am Portuguese, but I speak 3 languages.
Oh, awesome. That's what I love about this game. It's so international. There's another group here I want to highlight called Silent Company. It's actually an alliance, and I started looking at the developer core, or not the developer core, but it's not exactly the executor core. Maybe we should talk a little bit about how alliances are formed up, and you guys can correct me if I say something wrong. And we'll take Silent Company as an example here. But normally when you set up an alliance, you have a very small group that's held by one person, and that's the executor core. That's not the way it was supposed to work, but that's the way players have secured alliances. So the main corporation, the executor corporation, is usually just the owner of the alliance, and that's why you have one member in these tiny little executor cores. It's a little deceptive. So you look at the corporation that has the most amount of players, like this one here has 7,300 players. And sorry, not players, characters. And that, if you click on it, you can see through the description that they're pretty much, they are pretty much the lead corporation, the one that kind of governs the alliance. And that's how it works in most alliances. It's really an old and storied corporation that has less than the most players, but it is still very powerful because it has a lot of FCs in it. When you're talking about these big alliances, that's who's running it. It's a big corporation that's got a lot of influence in one way or another. Either they own the assets, They own the FCs. They have the most prestigious players, and those are the ones that kind of govern the alliance. And there's usually one of those with 3 or 4 other ones that are significant in the really good alliances. But the executor core on any of these alliances is going to be a hollowed out little corporation that's just meant for ownership purposes. So the alliance can't be taken over and destroyed. So this corporation here, this is called Strategic Exploration and Development Corporation. It's basically what runs, looks like what runs Silent Company. And they basically are picking up new players wherever they can pick them up with a laid back attitude. And they are basically trying to be an NPC corporation, but actually a player run NPC corporation, which is contradictory. But basically they're saying we'll offer the same freedoms and services as a non-player corporation, but you get the advantage of having maybe a lower tax rate, and we'll help you find a better home. And that's one of the things they hear. So start a new chapter with them. It's really neat. I really like this idea. In fact, we have been talking about this for a long time, but we have been too busy doing these shows. But we're opening up a Fleet Academy, as you know. And the mirror part of the Fleet Academy is corporation recommendations. So we intend on doing this sort of thing as well. We're going to vet corporations to make sure they treat their players right. And then we will basically certify them as places that are good for certain players. But we'll also match personality to corporation because we'll know the players since we're helping to train them. And we will know the corporations because we will vet them. We won't just say these guys are good, they have this or that. We're going to actually do some investigating. It's just like a portfolio manager in real life. If you're the decision maker at a mutual fund or something, like you go into businesses and you investigate their books and you investigate their practices and you look at their plans and you look at their people and you say, yeah, these guys are a good investment. Therefore, I'm going to take all this money that people have trusted me with and invest part of it into this company. And then we want to do the same thing with corporations and EVE Online. I think that has some RP value too. But if you look at their numbers, they seem to be doing really well. We'll just look at statistics here. It's a steady growth. I don't know how long they've been around. I guess should say here somewhere. Let me go back to the Alliance and see when that was formed. Nope, it's from this summer, so they're not that old. But it's a good idea, and it looks like it's having some traction. All right, so enough of that. Yeah, so let's talk about economics. There's probably some stuff I missed, but Z-Master, you've been looking at Plex. What's your ideas on Plex?
Well, when I mentioned that earlier, I didn't mean like in the overall of Eve. I mentioned me personally, right? That's
so you don't want to give your secrets away, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, the Plex price has been stable for a while now since CCP announced the blackout was being removed. You know, the Plex went back up to 3.6, 3.5, and it has been stable since then. There's been a couple fluctuations here and there, but it's normal. Like when it comes to weekends or like during the week, it's really slow moving, but during the weekend, it moves faster, and that's pretty much what it is. So now we just had an influx of Korean players, and me personally, I am speculating that Plex prices would drop again, because the more players we have, there's a very good chance that these Korean players um, will start using Plex again, or will buy Plex, from CCP and then sell it in game. There's a very good chance of that happening, and because of that, I'm speculating, me personally, I'm speculating that Plex prices will drop in the next 6 months. I actually had a conversation with Caleb a couple days ago, and Caleb even thinks it will happen faster than 6 months. So, but I don't talk for Caleb. Caleb talks for himself. So yeah.
Got it. Well, it's going to drop in any case in a week or so when Black Friday comes out and there's some kind of a Plex sale. And so you will see a dip. So if you can get out in the next 3 or 4 days, you might be able to pick that up. Again, if you're It depends on the sale. If the sale doesn't go for very long, it's not going to drop past the point of taxes costing you to get in and out. So it ends up being kind of a wash. But if it's the beginning of a series of sales because it's winter, that may drive the price of Plex down pretty far. And if it's going to drop a lot and you unload at the top, that means that you're going to be able to pick that same Plex up that you had at a lower price. And therefore, that margin will be money in your pocket. It's a little
That's
bit of risk.
actually what I was gonna say next, because I actually farmed a lot of Plex when the blackout was announced and we had all that issues with activity, the Plex prices dropped by a lot. So I actually bought a lot of Plex, which I'm not gonna say how much. And then when CCP reverted the blackout, in that same morning, the Plex prices exploded back up to 3.6. So this last week, I've actually been dumping all my Plex into the market. And if you see a 10K sell order, that's probably me, because I'm dumping everything that I can into the market before the holiday sales.
All right. Good for you. Hey, we have Ash Dorothy here with us. What's up, Ash?
Hey, how's it going? Just still trying to recover from getting beat up last night.
Maybe now we
And
can ask Ashtarati what YC means.
yeah, what does YC mean? Is it YC122 is a year in EVE Online, but what's it actually mean?
Uli convention.
Okay.
We got
So
it.
so there's
Yeah.
there's two kind of meetings that happened in very close succession. There's the Uli convocation or something, which is where the the various empires came together and tried to have peace, and that's what formed Concord. And then just a couple of years later, there's the Yule Convention. Sorry, that's the one that is where the calendar came from, and so that was the meeting that happened on the Yule ship, which is the Jovian ship, and
Yeah.
that's where Eve Standard Time and the calendar comes from.
And Arknor 1981 here points out that Uli was the biggest trade hub at one point. That's true. At the beginning of the game, Uli was a center of the universe, sort of.
Right, but there's the Uli there's the UI, and then there's the Yule. Both of them happened in close succession. They sound exactly the same, but they're actually two different things. It's super
Yes.
confusing.
Yeah. Yule is actually Christmas in Iceland, right?
I mean,
I've
a
heard
lot of places, but that's a different spelling.
Yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah.
different. It's a play on words, I'm pretty sure. But the idea is that that's the Jovian ship. It's actually even the Jovian ship that's used in Inheritance too.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not fall too far into that. Just wanted to confirm that's what it was. But there was this thing, Ash Dorothy, that you can maybe shed some light on. I don't know if you know about it. Let's see, where is it? It is the presidential run for some players that are doing it. Oh, we're in the wrong place. I had it here. Actually, here it is.
Yeah.
Presidential elections.
So the presidential elections happens every, now I can't remember how many years, but the last election went by without very much player interaction at all. It was just a series of events where Rodin was running against several of his opponents, and then his opponents seemed to be doing well, and then all of a sudden, inexplicably, bad news happened to each one of his opponents, and lo and behold, Rodin wins. So here we're at it again, and this time Juliana Soter,
you say Giuliani?
No, Julianus Soter, who is,
Dodged a
I
bullet.
believe, the head of GMVA, Valor Accords, and is one of the most committed Galente role player that I know, has announced his bid to become president of the Galente Federation. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, it looks like there's other candidates here. I'm looking at Silvio Belleron, Asbran Aleskar. Oof, look at me get these names right. Shailene Romnev. I'm on a roll. And Maverick Destro. So it looks like there's more than a few players.
I'm not sure if that's like going to have any in-game impact. Like I said, last time there wasn't any.
Right.
There was no player interaction with that. The Capsuleers don't get a vote. We're not Galentian citizens.
Well,
but,
one of the big advocates at CCP has just left in the form of CCP Falcon, the community manager. He's big on lore, And I think he seemed very playful to these kinds of ideas. I wonder if that will continue without him.
I probably
Mhm.
CCP Delegate Zero, among others, are kind of the active writers of the lore. CCP Falcon, I like to think of him as the curator of the universe, where people like CCP Delegate Zero were the ones that are making the ongoing story and writing like the chronicles and the stuff like that.
Right. But being the
So
community guy, he was engaged with some of the RPers, or at least he and, what's her name? The really nice Irish
CCP Affinity.
Affinity seemed to be playful with the community about lore. Like they were the engagement points.
I mean, you're not wrong there. From my understanding, CCP Affinity is still around. But yeah, we're just gonna have to see where it goes. The election, I don't believe, is supposed to happen until early next year. So
Okay.
we'll
We'll see.
see where it all goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I want to keep an eye on that. All right, back to economics. Not just Plex, but we want to talk a little bit more. Lichgrave, wanted to bring you in on this. What are some of the things that you're seeing? Are the Koreans here yet? Are they having any kind of impact?
Well, that's actually a really good question. So far, the prices for most goods have stayed the same. No real change, even with the Koreans entering the scene. They haven't been around. They haven't been around for that long, so I don't want to say anything else other than that as far as the Koreans are concerned, because we just don't know. Time will tell. We're going to have to see how they impact the market as a whole. But looking at things just really quickly, skill injectors are dipping up a little bit, which is really interesting. Plex staying nominal. Skill extractors staying nominal for the most part, but starting to dip low, which is really interesting.
Well, they're tied to Plex, right? Almost directly tied to Plex. So
almost, yes. So that's interesting how Plex itself has stayed the same actually, even through the Korean launch and even through Vegas. But the skill injectors have definitely started to shoot up with the release in Korea and with the announcement, of course.
Yeah,
and
so
everything.
let's explain that a little bit, and I'll try, and then you can correct me. Whoa. Oh no, marketers.
telemarketer.
Marketers. It's definitely morning in California because the marketers are calling. All right, so
Expecting my robocall any second.
yeah.
Go on.
So why do we have phones anymore? So what you have, if you're looking on screen, is you can see as Plex drops, so will extractors, because they're completely tied to one another. So they will follow each other. There might be a little bit of a lag. So when Plex is going down, extractors are going down. Now, extractors are the device you use to take skills out of a player. And when you take the maximum amount of skills out of a player, which is 500,000, it converts to a skill injector. So it's like a little worm, this extractor, and then it gets skills into it in cocoons, and then it turns into a butterfly, which is an injector. Same device, but now full of skills, it completely becomes something else called an injector. The injector then is used by other players to inject skill points into themselves. And you would think that as the injectors go down in price, so do injectors, because they're related. They're not completely tied to one another because there's that X value of how much skills are worth, but they're very closely tied. So this is interesting to see the extractors fall and the injectors go up, because that means there's a falling price point for the injector, but the demand is so good, it's overcoming that fall and going higher and higher. It just shows you that demand is even stronger for injectors than it looks.
Yeah, definitely. There has been a slight increase. You're starting to see high averages sit in the 4,000 range, as opposed to the low 3,000s, which it was for the earlier part of November. So we'll see where that goes. Just taking a quick look at the scepters, the interceptors, because we had the scepter change recently. Winners and losers are pretty easy. Crusader, Tyrannus, definitely big winners.
Why
I'd
is
say
that?
the Claw is a bigger winner than the Tyrannus. Most likely meta. Crusader, big winner, biggest winner actually.
So these are game changes
Yeah, so this was the scepter change that happened. Biggest winner out of it all was the Crusader. Um, so congratulations to anybody who invested into that.
Yeah, look at that
Raptor
bump.
was a bit of an interesting one. Big spike, and then it just flatlined again. So it sucks. The Tyrannus was definitely like, I don't know if it's a winner or a loser. I mean, it became pretty volatile, but it's almost
Oof.
back to where its original price. So
So these things
whereas the
jumped up.
Raptor still jumped.
They jumped up about a third their price.
Yeah.
Essentially went from what they were sitting at about 15 million per, and now they're up at like 24, 25.
Yeah, so they've jumped. Again, the Tyrannus is almost back to where it was before, so bit of a loser. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, they
But still
lost.
higher than it was before.
I believe they lost some value when they had things taken away from them, ship abilities taken away from them.
Interdiction immunity.
Yeah, interdiction immunity made them not useless, but made them a lot less desirable than their sister ship that was in the same category with them. So one stayed the same because it could get through being nullified. In other words, you could travel through nullsec without getting caught by bubbles. But another ship that had that ability lost it, and that one went down in value. And
so the problem here is not only that, but also the assault frigates got a pretty serious buff around that same time with the assault damage control changes, etc. And so anything that the combat interceptors are going to do, the assault frigates do better. So here with the Howling Interceptors changes, you see a across the board buff of interceptor damage, and an across the board buff nerf of assault frigate speed. So to bring those two back into balance.
Interesting. So there was actually a nerf to the assault frigates to separate those two ships from overlapping in abilities.
Correct. It was a 5% bonus to interceptors, and I think a 10% penalty to assault frigates.
Cool. So that explains that price fluctuation. A lot of times you will see bumps like this when there is a change in the mechanics of the game or the abilities of ships because they become less desirable or more desirable, and so the price goes up, demand goes up for them.
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking at.
I'm curious, though, whether or not this change has been somewhat subdued because when they patched in Howling Interceptors, but then they put in another patch and they had not updated Sissy yet. And so when they patched Sissy back into Tranquility, they actually reverted the Howling Interceptors change. So for a week there it was in, and then for another week it was out again, and now it's back in again. So I'm not sure if everybody's fully adapted to the change. And then of course we have the rapid fire change coming up probably on the 26th. So more is coming.
Rapid fire isn't going to affect interceptors or small ships, is it?
It's medium, or it's all the projectile guns, but
Yeah, it's autocannons.
Yeah.
And Munin specifically are going to be.
yes, which actually hasn't. So go ahead, Matt, or I'll let you finish.
It'll affect Minmatar ships, so or Minmatar guns, which affect Minmatar ships. Well, not necessarily. So it'll affect Minmatar guns, and maybe whatever ships prefer Minmatar guns.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's a change that's not in the game. What's interesting is Ashtarothi pointed to changes that came into the game, left the game, then came back into the game. Or I don't know if they came into the game. They came onto the server.
Yeah, they were into the game.
Did. So
they got accidentally reverted out and then brought back.
So I believe that this was a consequence of CCP's ongoing war with those of us on that watch Hopa Leaks like every hour. Because they literally patched it straight into Tranquility. Like it never hit Singularity.
It's part of chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So as an effect, Singularity didn't get updated. So when they then patched over the next patch, it actually reverted the change, and that was an accident.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, so much sense. Well, that's good though. I like that idea that they're. I mean, I don't like the idea of it being inconsistent. That's not good. That looks bad. But it is neat that they're putting stuff right into the game, skipping these other servers that people can watch to see what's actually going to change in the game and get an advantage of knowledge before the thing actually hits the game.
Yeah,
So
this is just an
bypassing that is
example
good.
of how aggressive Team Talos is working. And yeah, there's been some hitches and stuff like that, but overall they've been on top of fixing those hitches, which is really nice. And more importantly, it's just really good that we're getting these very impactful changes every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah. I do like that chaos concept. I'm going to stick with it. I asked Hilmar in Vegas, is chaos over? And he said, I can't tell you that because that would go against the idea of chaos, right? I was
There
like,
is
"Oh,
one
okay."
similar thing in that same vein that a lot of people I don't think have been aware of yet. So a couple weeks ago or whatever, they made a change that so that the Venture can now light industrial cynos.
Right.
But when they did that, it was shown that the Venture literally could not carry enough ozone to light the cyno, even if it had like faction cargo mods and all that stuff. And so it was pulled and it was removed from the patch notes. But then the next day, they patched it again to make it so that the Venture only consumed half the ozone, so now it could do it. But then they never put it back in the patch notes. So now there's this fact that Ventures can light industrial cynos that isn't really well documented, and not a lot of people have figured it out yet.
It's almost like a treasure hunt. Let's see what CCP changed today.
So this Drake Navy issue, why is that starting to go up? Anyone know?
That's actually a good question. I was actually just looking into that now. Well, so the Dominic's Navy issue is taking a dip. Somebody in chat was mentioning that DNI also stands for Dominic's Navy issue. And yeah, Dominic's is taking a
Oh,
dip.
Dominic's. I looked
Uh,
at Drake.
The Drake is taking
No,
a
it's
nice
going up.
bump.
Yeah.
I, because of the Drake buffs that were hinted at. So I assume that they were buffs that were hinted towards the Drake. So I mean, yeah, that'll cause speculation. It's been recent in the past few days, so examples like that, and perhaps maybe somewhere on a Korean forum, somebody posted a Drake Navy fit that people are going to be using, and that can also cause price to skyrocket.
You were right. The Dominix. I mistook Drake for Dominix. So the Dominix is a battleship for Galente. It's usually a drone boat. We used to call it the potato because it looks like a giant potato in low graphics mode. It is taking a dip. The Navy issue, it's a little bit stronger than the regular issue. And that it got popularized recently a little bit because what was it used for? Was it high-sec missions or something? No, Dominix was in use for something recently, but whatever that use is, it's gone. It's now dropping below. Wow, it's dropping a full 100 million.
Yeah,
They
this
nerfed
is
VNIs for rotting. Okay, so nullsec rotting, right? They nerfed VNIs, so people started using Myrmidons
That's it.
and
Yes.
Dominixes instead, because you could you have the entire high slot. So your weaponry is the drones, and then you have all the eye slots for remote reps and stuff like that.
That's what it was. It was the VNI changes made Dominix a bit more popular, and then it looks like that is over since November.
yeah,
beginning of
it's
November.
reverting back.
Maybe a
It's
ship
still
does
not
it
at a
better.
yearly low, but
Maybe a different ship does it better for less money, probably something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like the Myrmidon, for example.
I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of Gilas being used for ratting now.
Yeah, right. In fact, that Gila is also a drone boat, but it's faster, so it's probably. The interesting thing is, when you're doing a lot of we call it ratting, but it's basically killing NPC characters and earning bounties, which is ISK, and earning money. Basically, it's how you earn money against the environment. And a lot of that work is done by battleships because you can sit there and take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage and clean up a site pretty easily without too much worry. The problem is your boat's slow. Your ship is slow. So people get into these cruisers that have high effective hit points, EHP, so that they can take a lot of damage enough and deal enough damage to get through the site, but they can move faster through the site. And so there's a lot of people experimenting with how much tank, how much damage, and how much speed you have in order to cycle through these missions and earn money at a faster rate. And that's usually a big part of the dynamics of NPCs play, basically. All
It's
right.
very region specific. In the north, you see Gilas, and like down in Delve, you'll see a lot of Merms.
All right. Who's that talking? That's DTM 135. What's that stand for? Is that your actual name? I mean, I know who you are, but DTMs?
Yeah, it stands for Dan the Man.
Dan the Man. Okay. All right. All right, Dan the Man. Thanks for coming on. I'd just like to introduce you so people who listen to this have an idea of what the voice is that's talking. Also,
Okay.
yeah, good to see you. You've come into some sad news, right? You lost a player who's no longer playing the game.
Squishy is going to be taking, at the very least, a break. It's really sad for us because us guys over at the B team really love Squish, and we all really love roaming together. It's hard for me to say that I'm gonna continue to play Eve on like a on like a solo PvP null sec level because it's hard to do without that group of guys. They just made it so fun. Hopefully he'll be back. But yeah, Squishy's gone. He went to the hospital with a blood clot in his lung, came out, and he was like, "I'm done with Eve." So
Oh, well, Eve probably had him sitting in a chair for a long time, hours and hours. And that is
maybe
not good for your health. So this is something that comes from a guy that hangs out with us who knows a lot about medicine. His name's Victor. You guys, every hour you need to stand up, shake your legs out, at least take 5 minutes to walk around or whatever. Every once in a while, elevate your legs. Like, you don't want to be sitting in a chair for 10, 20 hours. This is how blood clots form, and they travel to your heart or brain, create a stroke or a heart attack. Either way, not good for your health to sit in a chair for a long, long, long time. That's why I feel like sometimes these streams, I'm going to stream for 48 hours sitting in my chair. It's not good for you. It's like doing those sleep deprivation things they did in the 50s, where for a radio station they would stay awake and do, I don't know, dance-a-thons for like 48 hours or whatever and just hallucinate. Not good for your health, guys. Take care of yourselves.
This is why if you
I've done the 24-hour streams before, but you got to make it a point when you do those to take like a break like every hour you said and get up, or else you're gonna have a really bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bad time.
This is
You
why
gotta jump.
I've got my big chair and I shift around a lot, and I have my thing that I can bring the legs up and down, and
Make me
you
all
gotta keep
self-conscious, and I'm standing up.
Yeah. Everybody should. In fact, I got to stand up soon. Okay, let's move on. So we're sorry to hear about Extra Squishy. Hopefully his health gets really good and he returns to the game. But if not, taking care of your health is like the right way to go. And good luck to you, Dan the Man, figuring out how to continue if you want to. All right, I want to actually talk to Nova Valentis here from Bombers Bar, because he was recently cited as joining a group that looked like, and there was some evidence posted, a white supremacist group. And you're you're not a white supremacist, are you, Nova?
Not that I know of.
What a way to start a conversation.
No,
If you are a white supremacist, just tell us. It's okay. We'll
definitely not a white supremacist.
we'll just hit the
And
mute button.
I think it's really mean to kind of throw those accusations around without anything backing it up.
Well, there
I
was
mean,
some stuff backing it up. That was the thing
yeah,
that was curious.
I saw that now, like, and the corp dude explained to me that in his country, in UK, Nazis are actually running around and they use that Old North mythology stuff for Nazi stuff, apparently. I didn't know that, but all right. But that they're not, like, they don't like Nazis and they don't subscribe to that stuff. But nevertheless, they thought it was a good idea to have a theme in the corp, and they chose North stuff, I guess, because it also fits into Eve very well, and they were playing the whole blonde, big boob girls theme meme.
Popular
But
with 12-year-olds or 14-year-olds and
yeah, I guess so. And they're
and white
not
supremacists.
serious about that stuff at all. If you check the podcast recording thing, I posted the picture there. It kind of shows that they're not taking it seriously.
All right. Well, the guy that actually made the accusations, we'll have him on in about 10 minutes. If you can stick around, we'll bring this topic back up so we can kind of flush it out, because it seems like it would be a really bad move to be involved with that sort of thing. It's not. I'm sure it's not something you want to get involved with, or is it? I don't know.
No,
So
I don't think they like the accusation a
well,
tiny bit. It's it sounds horrible to them.
yeah. Well, some of the stuff I saw looked pretty disturbing because they're linking to sites that are alt right or who knows what.
Well, as Sutonia pointed out in that comment, could just be they Google searched and like he explained it to me before he said exactly that they just Google it and then put up the link, whatever looked good, and they didn't research the site that it was linked on.
No, but
I
the
don't know
link
how many
itself
people
had a
do that.
bunch of anti-Semitic stuff on it. I mean, the link. If you read the link, it had a bunch of terrible
Oh,
things
I
in it.
didn't read it. It was like a huge wall of text. I didn't read it, and I'm not sure if that stuff.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you say there's anti-Semitic stuff. Please point like out the stuff, and I'm like reading over it. I don't know if they read over it, but it had the right logos on it and shit.
Yeah, I can't say one way or the other because I'm not looking into it that deep. But the guy that is, maybe he'll come
I
on
think
in a
that
minute.
guy should have just talked to them, like, and find
Uh,
out what's what.
oh, I think he did. I think this has been going on for a while. So it's not. Let me see if I could find that. Well, I don't want to put the stuff up on screen or whatever, but so never mind that. We'll pick this back up. I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, this has happened before. This is not unusual. In EVE Online, you have players from all over the world. You have players that have all sorts of different sentiments. We have seen podcasts that have had people who were white supremacists on it and were trying to defend the ideas. And that actually, I think the guy actually ran for CSM. It was a few years ago.
There's a guy that got kicked off the CSM because it surfaced that he had, or not kicked off the CSM, but his run was deemed ineligible because
Things.
evidence surfaced that he had made that kind of commentary earlier.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I would like screenshots of someone saying something racist. That would be like really easy then to determine what's what, right? That would be great.
that'd be better because it kind of stamps.
Yeah.
Stamps the
Then
image.
yeah, because I looked at their Discord right when you told me. I was like, I joined. I don't know if you want me to get into why I joined any corp at all.
Oh, I don't know why you did. Yeah, why don't you tell us
Yeah.
that?
So
Because
at
Bomber's
G
Bar,
Fleet,
first of all, Bomber's Bar is mostly anybody can join you to do these fun missions, right?
yeah, you don't need to be in a corp. So I didn't really need to be in any corp, and I don't want to go, and I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole again of like joining something and then those corp people becoming mad at me for not spending a lot of time with them, for rather playing with Bombers Bar and stuff. So I made, and on G Fleet there was some nullsec person who made like an offer, oh, we pay this much billion per month for FCs to join, you would definitely be welcome, blah blah blah. And I'm like, nah, I can't join any nullsec group. That's just political issues and diplomacy and blues, and nah, I can't get into that with Bombas Bar stuff. But later on I thought it would be funny if I joined like a high sec mining corp or something like that, just to support the little guy. And it would be funny to kill Rorquals and nullsec and take out the competition, so to speak, even if it doesn't matter. But just as a meme, it would just be very funny, I thought. So I went to those nullsec Care Bear corps in their recruitment chats, and for 2 days or something, I tried to spin the idea. Okay, who pays the most, even if it's 20 million a month? Yeah, I'm gonna join your corp. And I put that in my bio, and some Bombasbar people picked up on it at some point. And the last day, they started bidding a bit more, and that's when that group won. And the only the only rules I had was, all right, I'm not obliged to do anything, and I'm just gonna like carry the name or whatever on the corp tag, and still gonna do my Bombasper stuff. And well, they pay money each month just to have me as a mascot around. There was another
Oh,
very big,
sponsorship.
yeah, something like it. It was a big high sec group, uh, high sec minor alliance. They were also very close on winning, but well, I'm man of my word. If I say I'm gonna do this, then I'm doing this, and unless anything looks like they really are racist or something, or they think that white people are better than other people or whatever, but they really seem not that way. It seems like a meme. And when you told me about this, I was like checking the Discord to see if I find anything. I was also asking them about the weird name, and they're just like, "Oh, we're super sexy." What is he saying? Like it's just a meme. Like they don't take it seriously. There's no talk about this at all on the Discord. Any bit.
Right.
I mean,
So we're talking
you
about
guys could come over probably and check it out, but
uh,
it's
all their members look like. Let me see if I can open a picture. All their members are blonde with big boob avatars, right? Like, is that what's going on there?
well, not me. I'm a redhead.
Okay, you're a redhead. Not you. I meant them.
It
But
is
I
worth
don't
noting,
think
though.
that all the members, because some people joined later, so they already had their character. So of course, it doesn't matter what you make your character pick.
Right, right. Well, you can always get a resculpt, You can have some work done. It happens in real life. I'll have to look it up.
It is worth noting, though, that it is actually fairly common. It's increasingly common on the internet for bad people like that to basically take over online communities. And the way they start is by joking around about it. And they make an increasingly toxic environment. The people that don't want to be involved with it leave. Therefore, it becomes increasingly concentrated. And then the jokes begin to amplify. So even if you're not intending to do it, it's something that I would proactively stomp out.
Well, it's why you have
What
to watch
exactly?
out for it. See, these are the characters here that I have up on screen. And, I think if you're like 12 or 14, this makes sense, but it's, I think this is not, I don't think it's, I think it is a joke, but I don't have any thoughts on it, frankly. I'm just a little bit,
Well, also,
whatever.
I asked him about what the accuser wrote, like if that was in any of the bios or anything, and he said no, it's not. It's nothing that they wrote. So also the accuser said that I'm the leader of Bombers Bar, so that's also not correct.
You're not the leader of Bombers Bar. I'm just
No, we
kidding.
don't
I know.
have a
I know.
leader.
Oh,
Like we have,
but
we
you
have,
are an FC, right?
yeah, NFC, yeah.
Fleet commander. How many fleet commanders are in Bombers Bar?
Oh, I think 12 at the moment, 13 maybe.
Oh, how active are they compared to you?
Some are more active.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
you're just
Look at
popular then.
the MOTD. Dracoth, for example, this week is putting out like 3 or 4 fleets.
That's great.
US time zone FC did one yesterday, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to get US time zone up more
Yeah.
because I did one US time zone. I had so much fun. The people there are great and very supportive, and they're very grateful that there's anything going on in their time zone. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to push that more. It seems really to be a high demand thing.
Well, yeah, and it's neat because you can always join it from any group. But you've gotten into some. Let's go to Bombers Bar here, and we'll wait out this white supremacist thing for a minute. But the Bombers Bar thing is you guys have you ran into a little bit of trouble with nullsec, right? And this is why you joined a high sec mining corporation. But the trouble that you ran into with nullsec was that you guys were being targeted or something.
No, not really.
Wasn't you guys? Okay, I think that might have been Spectre Fleet then. Some
Spectre
group
deployed they like made an official like war declaration against, I think it was Providence a few months ago, by Mated, who's recently actually been kicked out of Spectre Fleet, who was like one of the heads at the time of Spectre Fleet. But yeah, they got in trouble with null.
So it was Spectre Fleet. I'm sorry, I confused them with Bombers Bar.
No, don't worry.
Well, you guys do the same thing but different ways, which is to invite anybody to join your fleets to go and have some fun.
Yep. But the difference is we use cloaky ships and well, sometimes different tactics. I don't think Spectre is using wormholes as often as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And also they don't do bombing runs on subcap fleets, as far as I know. Yeah, there's minor differences in that regard, but the main difference is that they use non-cloaky ships.
Right. Okay, so before we get into this next part, then we've been going for almost an hour, and we can stop here and do this like live, without recording. But the guy that tipped us off on the white supremacist corporation is here, so we're going to talk about this. We're going to do it in a classy way, or we're not going to do it at all. And if you don't agree, we can actually finish this news cycle and go into like a private session that we normally do in Discord. It's completely up to you guys, and either way is totally fine. That mic won't work. Well, let me turn you up. Dazzling Spod. Can you check your mic?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
1, 2.
All right, you sound all right. So Nova, are you okay to do this segment then?
Yeah, sure. I don't really have much clues, but sure.
I know you're like if it turns out to be true, then you're an innocent victim, but you also don't want to see a corporation that may not be white supremacist become victims either. So,
Yeah.
So Dazzling, what can you tell us that makes you so sure that this corporation is a white supremacist group?
I can give you a bit of background how I came across them, if that helps at all.
Sure.
I know there's already been a bit of a, shall we say, damage control response saying that I'm apparently some victim of their eviction fleets, which isn't exactly true. But so the long story short is a friend of ours who lives in a wormhole was threatened by them. Nothing actually came of this, but it was just sort of an amusing anecdote I was sharing with a colleague that happens to play Eve as well. And as I mentioned the alliance name to my colleague, he immediately turned around and said, "That's a neo-Nazi group." And when
you said, hold on, I didn't catch that. You said it's a neo-Nazi group. That name?
The name, the Asatru. So Asatru is, it's a bit of a two-faced thing. It is a legitimate pagan religion that's practiced, I believe, in Iceland actually. So if you ask any CCPers, they probably actually know about it. The problem it's got is it's been hijacked by a lot of white supremacists, neo-Nazis kind of thing, as they use it as a tool to get into prisons under the guise of being a religious organization. And
holy cow!
So the defense of it being a meme, I kind of get it, but in this case, it's just really not valid. If you look at some of the things I posted, for example, the link to a very old minor bumping from Code, like even Code's very first reaction is these guys are Nazis. That post contains, and I have no control of it, so there's no bias editing from my part. It has a snippet of, I think Frierson is the CEO. Don't know whether they go by the same name now, but it is the same person. Had either in his corp or his personal bio some of the more abhorrent stuff talking about racial purity. And that's not a good meme if it is.
Oh, okay. So if he's memeing, it's not. It's memeing along the lines of.
He's not.
You don't think he's memeing?
So the problem is, when you get people that have abhorrent views, they like to find holes to hide in, and they like to hide behind veils of it's just a joke. It's just. And while I do sort of believe,
how do you know for sure though? Like, did he say anything racist ever, or did you like
the trick? If I'm a Nazi, I'm not going to walk around goose stepping with one arm in the air. If I'm a Nazi and I want to join other little Nazi friends, I'm going to put out little quiet signals, little breadcrumbs, so that when they read, "We need to be pure and nice," that's sort of a little given known code word within their communities, so they know where to congregate. And of course, he won't just publish it in his channel. He's not that stupid.
But isn't pure and nice? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier too.
Sorry.
This is what I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, where
So
they basically use the defense of it's just a joke in order to make a community more caustic, and then people who don't find that funny leave the community, and therefore create a more concentrated situation where they gain more and more control, and over time they basically become they take over the host from within.
I think that's a valid point, but I don't think it's the main goal here. The main goal is to simply find like-minded folk by laying out these little.
So did you ever talk to him personally and just ask him if straight up if he's like sympathizing with any of that? Because he told me quite the opposite.
Because when you ask Nazis, are they Nazis? They're legally obliged to tell you they're Nazis.
But how does somebody get out from under being called a Nazi
Yeah.
if everything that they say can no longer be credible? Like, there's no way to really clear yourself.
Like, I don't know if someone is a fan of the Thor universe thing of the movies, you know, like does that make him a Nazi sympathizer because Nazis
Thor.
also use the same mythology?
It depends. If you like the Hulk too, that shows that you like diversity, and then you're not. But if you only
I
like
see.
Thor,
The context, and it's to do with the wider
Yeah, the
text.
context is it's an Icelandic game. It has a lot of Nordic stuff in the game and all the wordings. And if you want to use a theme, a Hindu theme doesn't work as well because you would, you know, you can't in the character creator make anything with 8 arms and stuff. Sorry, just talk to the people and then you're gonna see that they really don't
Dazzling.
think anything of skin color or whatever.
I actually know a streamer from another game. He's actually Danish from Denmark, and so he's part of Scandinavia. He's part of that Nordic team, and in his stream, he takes a lot of Nordic lore about Odin, Thor, all that pagan stuff, and that's the whole theme of his stream. Is there's a lot of icons about the Nordic mythology, and just because he's Danish, right? Just because he's from Denmark. Does that make him a
CCP
Nazi?
has also highlighted that stuff a lot. Like they had a whole video on Thordenblot and all of because you know they celebrate their Nordic tradition.
Dazzling. I'd like to give you an opportunity here because I think it's really important you're aware of this. Technically, it's in the TOS that you may not organize or be any member of a corporation or group within EVE Online that is based on or advocates any anti-ethnic, anti-religious, any
Yes.
group like that. You can go and open up a support ticket and raise this awareness to them, especially if you're concerned about it. That way, if there is a problem, they're going to be able to dig a lot deeper than
Yeah,
me. But
yeah, you
still,
should
gather
do
your
that.
stuff. Go and do that if this is something you're concerned about.
But don't you think it's a bit problematic that you accuse people of being Nazis, basically? Like, isn't that really bad? You're just throwing around being Nazi. What do I
well,
tell
it's
my
not
little
out of
brother?
nowhere. I mean, it's not out of nowhere. You look at it, there's a lot of clues there, and you can add up clues. I mean,
Yeah, apparently some of the
nullsec works the
clues were
same
made
way.
up. At least that's what the guy told me, that some of the stuff that Dazzling wrote in his post was never on any bios or anywhere. They didn't write it. It's not from them, and he just put it there and made it look like it's from them. Because
Well, that's something
why
that
don't you?
CCP could
Why didn't
verify.
you just make
Yeah.
a picture, a screenshot of whatever they wrote in their corp thingy? Why didn't you just do that? That would be like some evidence.
Right. So I'll address the points in the order that were made. The first point of it's just a theme, totally understandable. I can understand everyone having anything from a heavily Nordic Thor theme to an Indian theme to a Hindu theme, whatever. That's valid. It becomes invalid when you start making statements about ethnic purity, which is what existed in the bio.
Where did he make those statements? Please.
You can
And
find-
also, could you answer the question? Did you make up like wrong stuff and make it look like they? Because I want to know, like, where did you get that stuff from that you said it was written in their bios?
So I'm addressing the points as they were made. So the next point, I suppose, is where did the information come from? First of all, there aren't any screenshots because I was operating on my phone about 1 a.m. when somebody PM'd me and said you joined this group. The retort to where they actually came from. So one of them, the most abhorrent one, comes from, and the link is still up, a minor bumping post, which is a snippet of I believe the acid true command or something like that. I can't remember the exact things. I haven't got it in front of me, but it's a snippet from a bio from a few years ago by the CEO. That's in stone.
Could you link that? I didn't see a snippet of that kind.
It's in the Reddit post. I can't link it right now. I'm sat in a car freezing to death just to talk to you.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
So the reason there isn't any screenshots is, as I say, I was on my phone and my partner was telling me to go to sleep. The source for the latest information, the new court bios, which is saying are removed, well, it's not hard to select things and delete them. You will probably find them if you use Wayback Machine on Dotlan, which I believe still archives people's bios. So you'll find at the very least the Corporate Alliance bios. Everything everything that's in a comment on that Reddit thread is entirely from either in-game or from a forum post by a representative of that alliance. Several of them are semi-recent and some slightly older recruitment ads. The one that mentions nice a lot is a more recent recruitment ad.
So nothing was made
I
up.
have a question. Why did
Can
you
you
go to
link
Reddit
that
with
to me?
this?
On a DM later when you have time. I'm still curious to find out if there's anything to it, but so far it doesn't look like much of anything. I'm sorry, but
as for why I have not gone to CCP, I actually have. They are currently looking into it, as far as I'm aware.
So why did you make an
Hold on, let him finish his points. He's freezing inside of a car. I want him to get his points out.
Let me just start the engine, so I'm not going to completely die.
Not everyone lives in California. Although he got hit with a freak thunderstorm yesterday during the show, and these lightning bolts were going off outside loud.
To be fair, oh, sorry.
Oh, Ham Director is saying, or Hamdur is saying, never mind, not listening to some very strange people shitting all over my culture. We're not actually, I don't think we're criticizing anybody's culture, right? I mean, the joke about if you like Thor only and don't like the Hulk, that you could be a white supremacist was a joke. And I hope you don't take it that way, because I didn't mean it as an insult to Thor.
The whole,
or an insult to the Hulk or anybody.
Yeah, let me be clear. This is at no point have I heard anything that's actually against the actual culture. It's about the fact that that culture has been basically co-opted and taken over and used by a different group of people. So now it's like, how do you determine which is which? And that's what the issue at hand is.
And Astrothy knows he's a specialist in the occult.
Way to out me.
I thought that was a good thing.
No, yeah, you're not wrong.
All right, Dazzling, sorry. You were saying you have reported it to CCP?
So it is reported to CCP. I and several others have reported it simply because what it is.
Well, all I see in your link there is copy-pasted stuff that you could have written yourself, basically. So if you can show me the dotland thing, I don't know how to put that up. Like, I'm stupid with that kind of stuff. And I also think this is a game, and I like to play it as a game. I don't like to get into whatever political stuff, and I don't want to be like branded as a neo-Nazi or whatever. Like,
so nobody's branding
I'm the
you as
furthest from it.
The problem is that you, like it or not, have a significant sway, I suppose might be the word, and
He's
you're a
space
large
famous.
name. And by you joining a group like that, you are giving them validation. I know that's not what you intended to do.
Well, a group like that in your mind, you haven't gone and talked to those people.
So, as I say, tonight I will spend a couple of hours and I will find Wayback in Google Cache and screenshots of all.
Yeah, find
Provide.
that stuff. That would be really helpful. Or maybe even like a screenshot of them saying something racist, or saying that, oh boy,
So,
white people, white skin color is so much better, or whatever. You know what you think that they think. Because
Nova, you're not even white, are
talking
you?
to them yesterday, they seemed like thinking quite the opposite. They don't like Nazis.
Oh, maybe the people actually pushed on that were doing that. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different combinations of things that can.
Go undercover. That's what I'm gonna have
So-
to do. It's the
so to
only way to
request
see
a-
things through.
can I not be spoken over for?
Yeah,
few seconds?
we'll mute everybody else. Go ahead.
So requesting evidence of overt racism is impossible. As I said, nobody's going to walk around goose-stepping through the town centre telling everyone they're a Nazi. That's just not how it works, and it's also not what this is about. This is about the leaving of breadcrumbs to signal to other people to say, if you have these views, which include white supremacist kind of things, maybe not necessarily white supremacist, but it's quite clearly heavily Orion influenced, come here, come have a chat, and we'll be best friends and talk about how much we hate people. That's what it's about.
Well, you keep repeating this. Nobody's going to do that. Actually, I was stuck in the birthplace of Hitler twice without knowing that it was the birthday, because I was visiting a girl one point, and the other point I was drinking with buddies, and the police shuts down the entire city. You can't get out anymore. And we were all teenagers with long black hair, and there was a lot of Nazis, and they were walking around and telling everyone that they were Nazis. So it's not like there's no Nazis that walk around with the flags and all the black and like skinhead hair and shit, and they want to beat up kids that have long black hair and like metal. So there is actually those kind of Nazis. Of course, I know you're on the trip of like, oh, I found these secret Nazis. They're signaling these secret signals, and they must be space Nazis, and they're just hiding. And I found them out, and I want to save Nova from being with them. But unless you give me something concrete,
Let me interrupt. Ashtarothi, did you find something on the Wayback Machine?
Yeah, there are 4 records in the Wayback Machine in which there is definitely a lot more to the corporation description. I don't know what you do and don't want to show, but it definitely.
Well, this isn't bad stuff. This is just. It's not like death to people. It's more like Germanic culture, true spirituality kind of stuff. So it doesn't seem like it's. But it's the stuff that you posted inside the Reddit thread, right?
Yeah, it's the stuff that I posted that I didn't fabricate, as has just been proven
So-
by.
Yeah, it does exist. It did exist. It was just erased because it was discovered by Spod here. So the stuff that he posted, even though it doesn't exist anymore, did exist at one point. It's just changed.
I find it, immediately suspicious that they have, one, purged the majority of people from their group chat, begun purging people from their Discord chat. They're asking people in their Discord what is their location in the world, so they can figure out who is the one that has done these leaks. They're also they're just purging the hell out of everything. They've removed many people from their Discord and many people from their Alliance chat. They are going full damage control by just saying, this is a meme. This is a meme. It's a joke. You're just getting triggered by a joke. Like, it's just so obvious.
But why would they want to keep Nova if he's not one of them? Like,
Because by having a large, powerful name, you give validation to your cause. And I said the reason they don't overtly walk around in their black boots and stomp on people or whatever you want to talk about is because they are, by doing that, at immediate risk of getting banned from the game that they like. If they walk around and say Heil Hitler in Jita local, they are getting banned instantaneously. If they walk around in Jita local and says, "Does anyone want to join my little pure Asatru gang?" then that completely flies under the radar. But the people that message is for can read it.
Whoa, interesting. This is all interesting. I know people out there don't like it. I can see some comments saying that this is terrible. It's I think I saw some very objection. They were basically saying this is not a good topic, etc. I find it kind of fascinating, right? Because we're part of a global game. And sure, there are a lot of subcultures in all global games, and this is one of them. It happens to be white supremacy in general happens to be a hot topic in the United States for obvious reasons, but it's also growing as far as the internet is concerned and groups inside of social medias. Make no mistake, video games are social medias. And so it would be no surprise if there were groups that were, we'll call them subcultures, but they're basically ethnic pride groups, but that has more to it than just ethnic pride groups. When you start talking about the destruction of other ethnic groups, which I don't know if they've done, but it's kind of, these things go together. That's why this is an interesting topic. No, it's not EVE Online, but I think it's very, very related to playing a global game with global people.
So some further context as well. I came across a Reddit post of somebody doing just a PvP video. And one of the first things that appears in that PvP video is the Asatru Alliance logo, which, by the way, the 3 triangles is a known registered white power symbol, if you just simply look it up.
It's also a known Nordic religious symbol.
It's a known Nordic religious symbol that is bastardized by white supremacists, if you want to be technical. So,
well, but could it be a different?
Who was first, white supremacists or Nordic religions?
Let me point this out, that CCP approved and put that logo into the game. So I'm not sure if that's the angle of attack that you'd want to use.
So regardless, notice this video, challenge the person in it who was, I think it's a junior FC Inspector Fleet, and their response to the accusation of this group seems to hold white supremacist views was, yeah, maybe they do, but I don't personally. So it's.
Well, I was told he doesn't really know English really well.
Who in particular does not know English very well?
The guy who responded to you. Where you made those accusations again, apparently with the proof of there being a logo. Is that all? That you attacked this guy because of his logo on the stream?
So that guy was targeted because he made a clear association of himself with this.
With what?
With the Asatru group.
Oh, this is
that you think is Nazis. So you attacked him. He's a streamer and something, and he said like he likes that people, and why don't you be nice to people or something, right?
My original comment is something along the lines of, and this is almost word for word, is that Asatru Alliance a actual white supremacist group or just a bad meme? And he seemed to imply it wasn't.
Or maybe his English isn't that great and you read that into it.
He has good enough English to respond quite clearly, delete several of his posts, and have a friend call me a Zio.
But he did the same thing you're doing, Nova, which is saying, I'm not going to take your word for it, so I'm not going to listen to you. And that's totally fine if you want to do that. But I think that's Dazzling here is also able to put forth a lot of evidence that shows a subculture that you might not want to, and you might want to, who knows? You might not want to, put your name with or whatever. If they're paying you, that's fine. I was offered tens of billions, not to do work for a certain group so that we can make money any way we want. That's totally fine.
Yeah, just as a mascot thing, right? But yeah I don't want to do any like, I don't know, like ethnic whatever stuff and want to stand for that. But I don't think they do, because I asked them and they said no.
Well, that's
So-
probably what they would say either way, though, right? But anyway,
That's kind of bullshit, right? Because
hold on.
you
We're about to
basically-
close the topic.
well,
All right, say your last.
no. Okay,
Hold on.
the point is that
let me
you're
turn you
risking
down.
a false positive because of the affiliation with American Nazis, right? Because this is an actual group in Scandinavian region.
Well, you're talking to Dazzling, right? Because he's also not American. He's
I'm
European.
just saying that this whole thing, the groups of Nordic beliefs, or what you would call reconstructing ancient ways, pretty much like Wicca or similar, right? These groups exist, and they will have some overlap with the appropriating groups that are using this for Nazi and white supremacist stuff. And it's impossible to make sure that you're not accidentally dog whistling while not dog whistling, right?
It is, but the over mention of ethnic purity, the words together in a sentence where it makes sense, ethnic purity appeared in one of the.
Yeah, that's not culture.
Documented and stored. That's not a culture. That's not a faith. That's not a religion. That is ethnic purity.
Right. We will talk.
I'm gonna confront him about that. That's good.
Okay,
Like,
you guys.
I'm gonna ask what they mean by that, or if they mean it in a Eve context, because in the game,
it's just in game. It's just a joke.
Yeah, maybe it's just Amari and purity. But anyway, we're going to table this conversation to public right after this show. I did see Astrothi's comment that he came on to talk about the faction war fight that happened that racked up about 125 billion in damages. We're going to move to that, and then we're going to finish up. Astrothi, what do you want to tell us about that fight?
I appreciate it. So the war zone has been picking up over the last few months. Some of the major players have been moving back in, and there was a Templis, which is a Calmill Asterhus that was in Mara, I believe it was, or Marto. And that was, we did the shield timer and the armor timer. Malro, my group, came to support because we were supporting Aderon. Aderon was supporting the Glente. The first two fights were pretty much uneventful. The last fight, which was the hull timer, was not uneventful. So we showed up with just about 100 people, and Templis plus several other groups, including Fed Up and at least one other pretty big group, showed up to defend. There was everything from Lokis to Macarials to, of course, capital drops. It escalated over and over. The Silver Suspiria, who is a Talking in Stations host,
That's right.
he put up some pretty good footage about it, and all told, the Galente got pretty darn spanked. I think it was something like 90 billion versus 20 or 30 billion, with over 20 plus dreads on the Galmill side going down, with less than 10 on the Templis supporting side. So the Asterhus was saved at around 10%, and we'll see whether or not Galmill decides to make another go at it. But bottom line is, Warzone's back, baby.
That's right. While you're here, can you tell us a little bit about HiSec? Somebody was saying HiSec was boring.
What you need to know?
Well, I know you can go on for hours, but HiSec right now is probably its most active, or the most active it's been in a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. The invasions are super popular. Emerging conduits are so popular that sometimes it's hard to find one. There was, of course, the Halloween event, which caused a lot of shenanigans. And it seems as if those shenanigans, at least on some level, continue. We've seen quite a few ganks, and, of course, the average gate camps, or whatever you want to call it, in Udama, and the one that's between Amar and Jita, whose name is eluding me at the moment. But yeah, no, Niarja, that's what it is. Thank you. But yeah, overall, I'd say that HiSec is very lively right now.
Well, that's awesome. All right, well, we'll pick that up a different time. We've been on for an hour and a half. We got to go. We're going to finish this conversation in public. Jump in if you want to. It's a TIS Discord. I will put it into the Twitch chat here. Who should we actually raid? Is Ron out there? Because we will look for him.
Torvald's running around in the abyss.
Oh yeah, Torvald. Okay, we can raid him. That's pretty fun stuff.
Torvald has actually been making some really good YouTube videos.
Yeah,
he's
Not
great.
just his normal like watch me do the abyss highlights, which a lot of us Twitch streamers do, but actual like here's how to do PI, here's how to fly this ship in the abyss, and like I'm really impressed with the kind of content he's been pushing out recently.
That PI video needed to happen, by the way. I'm just saying.
Okay, so we'll do that, but there is the link. And if you're going to stick around and watch Torvald. He's really great. And if you want to hang out with us at Talking in Stations, thanks very much. That is the end of today. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.